What would be your reaction if you went into the doctor's office and he told you you weren't expecting one baby, but 4? That's exactly what happened to Tony and Sarah Stevens. And they've let us into their lives to see what it's like to have babies, 4 at a time. Stay with us. Sarah and Tony Stevens have been married for 6 years. These high school sweethearts are the proud parents of Kelly, a beautiful 3-year-old girl. But the road to becoming parents hasn't been an easy one. Through the use of assisted reproductive technology, they were able to have Kelly. Sarah considered it a miracle. Now, Sarah is expecting again. But a month into the pregnancy, they received surprising news that, putting it mildly, would change their lives forever.
I consider her my miracle baby because, when we had the problems that we had, they told us it would take at least 3 tries to get pregnant.
By assisted reproductive technology time.
At least 3 times, and I got pregnant the first time and everybody was shocked and thought it was wonderful. So I considered that a miracle. And we didn't have any problems with her. And then with this one, I didn't think I was pregnant, and then I found out I was pregnant the day before my birthday. So it was like my birthday present, and I remember telling him about it, and he was shocked too. So we were excited. But I was really sick in the beginning. I was really, really sick. So I thought there was something different. I thought either, because everybody in my family gets a lot sicker with boys. So I thought it was either a boy or I had more than one.
What was the reaction of the doctors when they found out there were 4 babies in there?
They were shocked. He called us into the conference room and he started giving us options. He wanted us either to get rid of the entire pregnancy or reduce it down to 2.
So when you got what you thought was going to be good news, he said you need to abort 2 or all of your babies?
Yeah.
What was his reasoning for that?
He said that with triplets, he said, we usually tell you to go ahead and do it. But he said with more than that, they said it's too much of a risk for you and too much of a risk for the babies.
How so? What type of risk?
I'm not big enough. He told me I wasn't big enough, and he told me I wouldn't be able to carry them long enough, and they'd only have a 10% survival rate once they were born.
So what was your reaction to this advice?
I was scared, and I was mad, and it was a bad combination to find out you're pregnant with multiples and find out that he's telling you to abort them at the same time.
My first reaction was, we don't have a choice here. We're just going to have to trust God, and if anybody can do this, Sarah can do this. She's stronger than she gives herself credit for. I mean, with the first pregnancy, she had a rough pregnancy. She worked through the whole pregnancy, taught school. No matter how sick she was, she'd get up, she'd go to school. I mean, I just remember thinking when she was going to work, if I felt like that, I would be calling in. I'm not going to work today. And so when I heard that, I knew this was going to be a big struggle for us. It was going to be a lot of hard work, but Sarah can do this. We can do this. God's only going to give us what we can handle. Apparently, he thinks we can handle 4 babies at once.
Apparently. Yeah.
And so that was kind of my mindset that, there is no choice. The only thing that, as a father, intimidated me a little bit was, finances, thinking, well, why 4 babies at once? That's formula times 4, diapers times 4. That was the only thing. I'm not really concerned. I trust God that, it's in his hands. It really was mind-boggling to me to think that we could just reduce a pregnancy. And, how would you choose? Which one do you pick?
Overwhelmed and upset by the doctor's reaction to their pregnancy, Sarah immediately reached out to her parents, Sandra and Tom. She broke the news that they were expecting quadruplets and their doctor had advised them to abort. Though immediately worried for their daughter, Sandra and Tom did their best to reassure Tony and Sarah of their decision to keep the babies.
My first thought was Sarah. That was my first thought. She's my baby. And I could tell from her voice that she was terrified. And so I immediately went into mom mode, and I was on the phone, and I remember I had tears streaming down my face, but a big smile. I said, honey, that's great. This is going to be great. This is going to be so fun. It's going to work out. And, but, I was afraid for her.
Later on, I thought about the kids and thought this would be fun, and I guess I wasn't seeing all the negative aspects of it because I was busy and I wasn't hearing some of the dire predictions and stuff, and I just was kind of thinking this will be fun.
He told Tony, he said, you know, let's worry about what we can deal with, and you know, I'll add on to the house. You guys can come stay with us, or we'll take care of it. It'll work out. He said the biggest thing we need to worry about right now is Sarah. Make sure she's okay.
Coming up, we'll learn more about the challenges Sarah faces bringing 4 beautiful babies into this world.
Thank you for inviting us into your home. Each week we feature real people who deal with real-life issues head-on. Some of their experiences are uplifting, while others will break your heart. But in the end, the message is clear. Those who follow biblical principles on the issues of life are blessed. Become a partner with us in providing a positive, life-affirming message to help change the way the next generation values innocent human life. Please consider a generous gift to help offset the costs of producing this important quality programming. You can donate on our secure website at facinglife.tv or by calling the phone number on your screen during normal business hours. Together, we can make a real difference for life.
When Sarah and Tony Stevens discovered they were expecting quadruplets, their doctor initially advised them to abort all 4 babies and start over. Knowing they could never give up on their children, Sarah and Tony sought the help of a different doctor. It wasn't until a meeting with their new team of physicians, Sarah and Tony finally felt the first hint of encouragement.
He referred us to a high-risk specialist.
And we really like them.
And that was the first doctor's office visit that we went to that we got a little bit of encouragement.
And what was their reaction when you came
It
in?
was very different. It just, even when I called, it was like, okay, we'll schedule you an appointment. It wasn't like she didn't even blink about it. Whereas the other ones, it was always a long pause and they were worried, and that made me feel better. It made me feel like somebody else had already done it, so I must be able to do it.
So do they believe you can get through this pregnancy okay?
Yeah, they think I can make it, if everything goes well, I can make it to 34 weeks.
So if you're a good mother and obey the doctor.
Yes.
Sarah and Tony were referred to the Seton Center medical team at Good Samaritan Hospital in Cincinnati, Ohio. The Seton Center for High-Risk Obstetrics is comprised of highly trained maternal-fetal medicine specialists. They're expert at managing complicated and high-risk pregnancies. I talked with Dr. William Pozlin, a maternal-fetal medicine specialist with the Seton Center, to discuss the risks and concerns a quadruplet pregnancy brings.
The first risk to consider is the pregnancy going to make it even to a stage of viability? 20 to 40% probably lose the pregnancy prior to viability, which we'll define as 24 weeks or greater. And then probably another 25 to 30% deliver under 30 weeks of gestation. And that's an age where if you had a normally grown singleton pregnancy, the survival rate might be 90+%, with over 90% of those babies being perfectly healthy by the time they go home from the hospital's intensive care unit 1 to 2 months later. But for a quadruplet pregnancy born at 28 or 30 weeks, which is about the average age of delivery, these babies are typically small, smaller than their singleton cohorts. There's a higher incidence of in utero growth restriction, placental problems that cause abnormalities of the fetal growth. There's a higher incidence of there having one of the babies having an anomaly. There's a higher risk of the mother being sick at the time of birth with diabetes or with hypertension, or being sick from the treatment trying to prevent the preterm birth. And the mortality rate around the time of birth for quadruplets is probably close to 20%.
We've seen some very well-known incidents of multiple births, of 6 and 5, and things that have been followed on TV with reality programs. So we know that they do successfully deliver these quantities of children at one time. What would typically be your advice to a mother who's going through this type of pregnancy, has decided that she's going to do her best to see that through to the end?
Our job focuses on managing to get the outcome as desirable as possible. We try to optimize their medical condition, so we look at the things that we can change behaviorally. We look at their diet, for instance, and make sure that they're eating well. We look at their nutritional supplementation. Many of these women that carry high-order multiple gestations will start bed rest by 20 weeks of gestation, which is normally halfway through, but for them may be close to the end if they deliver at 24, 26, 28 weeks. We counsel them that there's risk of complications that may not even be evident at the time of birth, but maybe showing up at 2 or 3 years of age with developmental delays, cerebral palsy. These rates can be as high as 20%, maybe even 25 to 30% in these babies that survive, for instance, a quadruplet pregnancy with birth on average around 29 weeks. So we prepare them for all that. We make sure that they have connections to support groups in the community because of the need for, in some cases, new vehicles or special vehicles or multiple car seats, or the clothes, the food, the diapers, things that they often surprisingly don't spend a lot of time thinking about, that are almost insurmountable financial challenges for the average family without assistance. And there isn't really a lot of community programming for that. It's really more private with people that have been through it before, that start organizations to support mothers of quadruplets or mothers of quintuplets. We try to get them plugged into those groups because the majority of them need it.
When we return, we'll hear how Sarah's feeling physically and learn about the support they're receiving from family and friends.
Whether you're a student needing answers, a parent needing help, or a concerned citizen wanting to make a difference, Life Issues Institute has the resources you need to put your values into action. Life Issues Institute is an international educational organization committed to protecting innocent human life. Life Issues Institute knows what it takes. That's why millions throughout the world turn here for help. Life Issues Institute has authored more pro-life publications than any other entity in the world, and its materials are printed in over 30 languages. Radio broadcasts, newsletters, and a website filled to the brim with the answers you're looking for are just a click away. Go to facinglife.tv and click on the link to Life Issues Institute to find out more about how you can change the heart of a nation.
Sarah Stevens is faced with the daunting task of carrying 4 babies to term. As we've learned, a quadruplet pregnancy presents many risks and concerns for the mother and her babies. But Sarah and Tony are taking this one day at a time. So far, everything looks good, and they've just found out they're expecting 2 boys and 2 girls. But this exciting news hasn't helped Sarah feel any more comfortable physically. So, Sarah, how are you feeling physically? You're 18 weeks along, so what's life like for you?
Well, I'm still pretty morning sick, and I'm very uncomfortable.
I think at her last visit, what were you, 17 weeks?
I was 16 weeks, and I was
16 weeks.
measuring
29?
29 and a half weeks. So you grow a lot faster, so you don't get that rest in between.
How often do you have sonograms?
About every week.
Really?
Mm-hmm. They do a sonogram to check the heartbeats every week because they can't pick up all 4 heartbeats, or they can't tell the difference in them without the sonogram. And then I have big ones every 4 weeks where they actually go in and they check the babies out.
Now, according to the sonograms, you've got really 4 healthy children so far, right?
Yeah.
They're all growing at the same rate, and they're all the same size, which we were told is a good thing. So they were all, the last time, what were they all measuring?
They're all 5 ounces.
5 ounces.
So there's no red flags at this point.
No, she said everything looked really good, and I had my last big sonogram 2 weeks ago. So.
And you're really over halfway to your goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's encouraging.
Yes.
You know which genders you're having. Give me a breakdown of that.
Baby A and baby B are boys, and baby C and baby D are girls.
Now, do you know if they're all going to be identical, or?
We do not know, because they said if they are, they split in the first 8 days. So we will not find out till after they're born if any of them are identical.
Are you prepared to go with whiteout and put numbers on their feet?
We're thinking about that, or painting their toenails.
Only the
Different
girls.
colors.
Only the girls. I'm not going to do that to the boys. We'll put a bracelet on them or something.
What kind of circle of family and friends do you have that'll provide support? Are there people that you can count on?
Mm-hmm. I've got my immediate family that are really supportive and help take care of me. And then I've got my extended family. I have a pretty big family. And then also our church family.
Sarah, was there any point at which you really got encouragement instead of discouragement?
Yeah, I had gone to the dentist. I had just, I don't know, it was probably a couple weeks after we had found out, and I was sitting in the dentist, and the dentist was asking me about how many I was having, and I told her I had 4, and she was telling me that was exciting. And there was this old man, he was an older gentleman, he was sitting kind of far away from me. Well, when I sat back down, he came over and sat next to me, and he was telling me about he started telling me about his daughter who had quints.
5.
And he was just telling me that it's the hardest thing I will ever do, but it's the best thing I will ever do. And that's the first time that I felt encouraged, like I could do this.
By facing life head on, Sarah and Tony made a decision to keep all 4 of their babies despite the risks involved. And while everything is going according to plan, there's always an increased risk something can go wrong with a multiple pregnancy. But Tom and Sandra know whether the outcome is joyous or sad. Sarah and Tony made the right decision in giving their babies a chance at life. Well, you both seem very sure in your position of confidence in her decision to move forward. God forbid, what if something goes tragically wrong and they have to return home with just Kelly? Will you still be so certain of your decision?
I was thinking about these 4 lives, and I was actually talking to Tom's mother, and she's facing some battles of her own. His dad has cancer, and she was telling me that when they go into the cancer doctor, everybody asks about the quads, and she said, Sandra, these babies have a ministry already. She said, regardless of what happens, And I was thinking about that, the Lord has something special in mind. I think about, if something happens, we'll deal with it when it comes. I choose to hope that it's all going to turn out for the best. But if it doesn't, I know that God will be there for us, and it'll work out for the best.
What advice would you guys have for other young couples who may find themselves in the very same position as Sarah and Tony?
I guess the biggest thing I would tell them, at least initially, is just kind of relax, kind of calm down. You don't have to do anything right now, and just kind of, get a perspective on things and take things in. Almost all the bad decisions I've ever made have been hasty ones, where I've decided too quick or reacted instead of letting things settle a little bit.
Yeah, and talk about it. Talk to people who care and who know and who can give you good advice. Make sure you get advice from different people and not just listen to the doctor.
And if the doctor's telling you something that your heart says no to find another doctor.
That's right.
Maybe?
Try another doctor. There are other doctors out there, and what's the worst that can happen? You've got to face some of those things and say, okay, we can do this.
In a moment, find out what you can do to offer Sarah and Tony support.
Look around you. Every day, heroes abound in our country. We're surrounded by people who courageously face difficult obstacles life has thrown in their paths. Tune in each week to meet people who show there are positive, godly solutions to tough, critical situations. We'll tackle challenging life issues such as abortion, stem cell research, adoption, and abstinence. limitations and show that every human life is valuable and precious. Join us for inspiring stories of people facing life head on.
Sarah and Tony still have a long road ahead of them. Bringing 4 babies into this world is no easy task, but the support of their family and community is providing them the hope and encouragement they need to move forward. One of the things they're counting on from viewers across the country is to pray for them and their family. Every 2 weeks, we'll be posting a video diary on our website at facinglife.tv, so you can keep up to date on Sarah and Tony's journey. Sandra is also keeping people praying and informed through her blog. A link to her site will also be available at our website. We hope you'll share this story with others and encourage them to also pray. For those who are watching the program, what request, if any, would you have from our viewers while you're going through this pregnancy?
We would love prayer support. Pray that these babies will make it to 34 weeks and everybody will be fine.
And that I can find the right things for her to eat and drink that she can, because it changes all the time. But that's the biggest struggle with having that many babies in there at once. Puts a lot of pressure on your stomach and makes her feel real uncomfortable. And she still has to get the nutrients she needs for herself and the babies. So